mountains, and then meet up with the main group in near the Tanzania the Kilimanjaro International Airport. In any case, I guess I'm gonna look for a thumbs up from our wonderful IT guys.
Hold on a second. Can you make me co-host?
Yeah, we're working on it.
Oh, cool.
We're still working on it.
Oh, so you guys are on. Can you move the microphone, Sam?
Yes, we can.
Oh, far out.
So that we can at least turn the microphone on.
Okay.
All right, so I tell you what, we'll do a little vamp here. You'll notice I'm the same shirt that I was in Tanzania. Different pants, all clean. So one of the fun things about this is that this photo is probably my favorite photo of myself. It was taken by Sue Esterhaas as we're sitting in the Ngorongoro crater in northwestern Tanzania. The crater is immense. It's vast. It's 20 kilometers across, so 12 miles in diameter. You'll notice that my lens hood on my 800 millimeter lens looks a little bit
What's your name?
funny. That's because the original piece of equipment was stolen in transit. And initial times of COVID, I had a clear face shield. I had surgical tape, and our Safari ground team had given us gifts that included black matte wrapping paper. So I made myself a lens hood. Can we? Great. Yeah, I'll mute mine. Hopefully. Not quite. Give me 1 second. Check. Yes, 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 yes. Check, check, check. I was logged into Zoom. I'm doing the presentation.
If you mute yourself on your Zoom.
Yes,
It was.
it was.
Okay,
Yeah, it
then
was,
can-
both days.
Try talking again.
Check, check, check.
Try bringing up your Zoom again
All right.
and turn off your speakers.
Doesn't-
He does because in order to get the presentation Zoom call, we don't have the presentation. You can't display it on our computer and it's too big.
No
to
audio.
transfer.
I set it for no audio.
Okay, let's try. I just want to make sure it's not playing.
Right, okay, so I'm not on the audio. It's asking me to join. I'm not gonna
Okay.
do that. Share this. Check, check.
Perfect.
The wonders of Zoom.
Wonders of Zoom. Okay, so now. Shoot.
I think.
Let's do a real quick sound check on being able to hear. So it's playing. All right. It's,
You know.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna mirror my displays.
Yeah.
Okay. Step by step. Now let me see if I can get rid of participants. Oh. So hopefully we'll be able to hear.
Thank you all for your faces. I mean, Zoom is working. We're recording it. It will be posted on our website. For those who can't hear, can't see appropriately. I just wanted to remind you.
22 minutes. David is ready.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I bring you 4 countries in Africa, and the total of images and videos that got distilled down into this presentation is actually more on the order of 100,000 photos and videos. And yes, my very tired eyeballs touched every last one of those in making the selection. So here we go. Pre-dawn in the East Usambara Mountains, which is a sky island between 5,000 and 6,600 feet in elevation, about 30 miles from the Indian Ocean. So around this sky island, the elevation above sea level is about 15 feet. These mountains have been in existence for millions of years. They have endemic species, which means that they're found nowhere else in the world. So waking up to a soundscape of birds I've never heard at, 5 in the morning, and just walking around the grounds of the lodge. This is what I heard. Hopefully you can hear it too. So you may have heard something that sounded like laughter coming from the jungle. That was a silver-cheeked hornbill. This is the male. He's an enormous bird. He's over 2 feet long. He's got this massive horn on top of his bill. Here's the male and females taking off from a tree. The male is on the right-hand side, female following behind. They also have chameleons that are found nowhere else in the world. This is an East Usambara horned chameleon. And what's bizarre about them is that their eyeballs move independently.
As long as they went out, it's up to you. It's good, brother. How are you? I'm chilling. All right.
And
Go by.
horned chameleon, this was shot at night.
Perfect. Okay.
Wandering around the jungle with a fairly large flash set up. It made me a little bit nervous wandering around at night because this is the land of green mambas. And I did see a few green snakes. Fortunately, none of them were green mambas. Tiny East Usambara pitted pygmy chameleon. This guy's about 4 inches long from the tip of his nose to the end of his tail. And lastly, an Usambara soft-horned chameleon, which is a relatively new discovery in the area. They have an amazing variety of birds in East Africa. There are over 1,800 bird species in the region. They have 53 versions of, or different species of sunbirds. This is a collared sunbird, a variable sunbird, and a scarlet-chested sunbird. And my whole experience in Africa was like this. Everywhere I turned, there was something I'd never seen before. And I just lost myself behind the camera. I'm just doing whatever I can to do my best to capture these amazing creatures. So on we go to the main safari. We spent 4 days in the vast and verdant Ngorongoro crater. Then we went on to the southern Serengeti and finally to a private conservancy abutting the Masai Mara. So this is a satellite view of the Ngorongoro crater. It is 20 kilometers across. It's so big, it has its own lake in the central lower left portion of the screen. Kudos to our safari planners. They had us lodged at Lion's Paw Camp, which is the closest access to the only gate that allows people into the crater floor. No visitors are allowed on the crater floor between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. To prevent poaching from happening, to give the rangers on the floor of the crater a leg up. If they see lights coming in, they know that those are poachers. So this is a panorama shot of the Ngorongoro crater from an observation area. Lake Magadi is in the background, and we did get some rain. So we wake up at 4:30 in the morning and we're waiting at the gate at 6 a.m. and we are the first people on the floor of the crater. And these greater flamingos were doing their mating dance in Lake Magadi. And there were lesser flamingos. And again, one of the advantages of being up that early is early morning air, very still. You get these beautiful reflections off the lake. And if you've seen photos of Africa, you've seen photos of the gray-crowned cranes. They are indeed stunning birds, and I caught a pair flying into Lake Magadi on the right. An African paradise flycatcher. What amazed me about it was it had no trouble at all flying through these acacia tree thickets with 3-inch long thorns with this immensely long tail. And on the right-hand side, it's shaking off some rain. And it gives you an idea that those tail feathers are very flexible. Here are zebras fighting on the crater floor. You can see some saliva coming out of the corner of the mouth of the zebra facing us. And this is what really brought home to me the fact that it is indeed survival of the fittest. These guys are fighting over females, and whoever wins this battle gets to propagate their genetic code onward. So in an antiquated reference to the most dangerous animals hunted on foot back in the 1800s, here's the big five. Cape Buffalo pair, and seeing these guys interact with each other, it made me realize that humans don't have a monopoly on love and affection. These guys are truly affectionate towards each other, not so much towards humans. Two adult black female rhinos with a 5-year-old rhino between them. You'll note the size of the horn on the nearest rhinoceros, and in any other place in the world, those horns would be trimmed to avoid the draw of poachers. But in the Ngorongoro crater, there is enough protection that some of the rhinos can at least have natural length horns. We had a bull elephant that came within about 25 feet of our safari vehicle. He came closer than is indicated by this photograph, but along with my lens hood, my super wide 14 to 24 millimeter lens that I had in checked baggage because I couldn't carry anymore also got stolen. Darn it. Never put anything you can't live without in checked baggage is the moral of the story. Lioness nibbling on her cub's rain-dampened ear. This is her male, oldest male cub and most rambunctious. She's just trying to remind him who the boss is. And lastly, a leopard on the alert after sunset. And I am pushing my gear, I'm pushing myself. I shot this at 1/100th of a second at 560 millimeters at an insanely high ISO. And yeah, I did some post-processing on it to clean it up, but what an amazing time to be alive as a photographer. Then we move on to smaller animals who are prey, AKA Yum Yum, per our my main guide and driver, Hassan Swalehe. We have wildebeest calves. This is one of the reasons why we wound up doing this safari in January and early February. It's the calving season. With calving comes increased predation. And so there were lots of young creatures wandering around. And here's, with no sound, oops, sorry about that, with no sound, are the first steps of a Thompson's gazelle. And I'm not a videographer. I understand a fair amount about it, but I'm shooting this at 1,000 millimeters, stabilized on a beanbag on top of the safari vehicle. And the mom's trying to get the umbilical cord off because the scent attracts predators. The tiny dik-dik, male and female, they mate for life. These were shot in the southern Serengeti at Ndutu camp. They're 15 inches tall at the shoulder, and they weigh about 13 pounds. Male is on the right-hand side, female on the left. Little zebra colt, affectionately known as Fuzzbutt. A warthog baby on the left, and then a warthog adult in its den. And this photograph on the right explains why no predators mess with warthogs when they're in their den. They're always waiting until the warthogs leave the den. And Genet in the rafters of the Ndutu Lodge. This is a wild animal related to the mongoose. This one can come and go as it pleases. Sort of a famous denizen of the Ndutu Lodge. And lastly, a martial eagle with some yum-yum, a helmeted guinea fowl. And the helmeted guinea fowl is about the size of a chicken. So it gives you an idea of just how enormous the martial eagle is. It is the largest eagle in Africa. And I was lucky enough to photograph all of the African cats except for the caracal. One group of our in the safari of, say, 3 safari vehicles did see one briefly, but alas, I did not. So starting with the smallest, the African wildcat, it's very easily confused with being a regular domestic house cat. And it's sitting at its den looking out at these strange creatures in these giant 4-wheel drive vehicles. Serval, which is not going to be mistaken as a house cat, with its very strange proportions, its tiny head, its long body and legs. A pair of cheetah brothers marking their territory near the Masai Mara. One is doing the marking with its claws, the other with its urine. And a leopard at Ndutu camp. And we were lucky enough to be the first safari vehicle to roll up on this leopard. And to get up to its eye level, I climbed out the back and was resting on top of the safari vehicle to try to get that eye-to-eye level going. And when Susie Esterhazy's vehicle rolled up behind us, I looked at her like, is this okay? And she, yeah. Lion, just an amazing older lion. You can tell by the darkness in its mane. Yeah. He's basically the protector of the pride. They don't hunt. The females do all the hunting. The males do all of the fighting. So here we go, working into our first lion's roar. This is a lioness with 3 of her 4 cubs on the opposite side of a river near the Masai Mara. And she decided that she wanted to be on our side of the river. So she starts crossing with her first, most intrepid cub. And her second cub leaps into the water, comes splashing down. And this proceeded for 3 of the 4 cubs. They made it across the river. They're on our side of the river. But this little guy, in any case, he was still stuck. So yeah, there was a lens change in there. I went from my 180 to 400 millimeter to the 800 millimeter to get the really close up of the little lion. And I'm using an external microphone with a lot of reach to be able to pick it up across the river with the sound of the river. But mom went back, she let the lion cub stay there on the other side of the river, stewing, pacing back and forth. Eventually she went back, got him, gave him a little swat, and brought him onto our side of the river. And then pandemonium ensued. Cubs were just going nuts. They were running, jumping, playing, biting mom's tail. And then the sister of the mother got into the act. They're all part of a pride. And just wrapping up, this is a evening rainstorm as the sun is setting with a lioness in the foreground. So on our way out, we stopped at the Sheldrick Elephant Orphanage in Nairobi. And not only do they have baby elephants from about 1 year to about 5 years, but they also have this full-grown black rhino. Poor guy, he is blind from a congenitive defect in his optic nerves. And in this photo, his horn is about 4 feet from my face, separated by a sturdy gate. And he got closer and put his horns through the bars of the gate, and I had the temerity to pet his horn. So I got to pet not only baby elephants, but also a full-grown adult black rhino. Having a baby elephant lean up against you like a big dog does is so cool. They treat humans like we're their parents. We're part of their family. And you get all this red dirt on you too, so you have a memento. In any case, that wraps it up for Tanzania and Kenya. Now we're on to my second Susie Esterhaas photo safari, this one to South Africa and Botswana. That's me in South Africa with my 2 main lenses and cameras under rain gear because, oddly enough, it was raining. So we went to 4 different locations over nearly 3 weeks. The Mala Mala camp in South Africa, which abuts the Kruger National Park. It's about a 17-kilometer border, unfenced. The Mashatu tent camp in eastern Botswana highlands, very hot. Onward to the Chitabe camp in the Okavango Delta. And then there is an optional add-on bit to go to Jigera, also in the Okavango Delta. So this gives you a little bit of an idea of where we went. Johannesburg is where we started in the bottom center. We then flew to the Mala Mala Game Preserve, abutting the Kruger. Then we flew northwest to the Mashatu tent camp. And lastly, to the Chitabe camp and Jigera Safari Lodge in the Okavango Delta. So starting with Mala Mala camp. This is our pre-dawn meeting at 5:30 a.m. We're ready to roll, waiting for the safari vehicles. This is part of the crew. We had 12 people on this safari, so 3 total safari vehicles. A very nice setup for photographers. And this is what it really felt like at 5:30 in the morning, even with coffee. So the first creatures we ran across was a pack of wild African dogs, and it was raining. None of the creatures care about rain. We're the only creatures that care about rain. And we had all been warned by Susie Esterhaas, bring your rain gear. So I'm fine, which is good because in this safari, we're in open safari vehicles. There's nothing between us and the animals. So the wild African dogs have these immense ears and these incredibly long legs. They're very sociable creatures. On the right-hand side, there's a dental inspection going on. And those teeth are true to life, true to color. I didn't do any whitening at all. These guys have some of the most amazingly clean teeth that I have ever seen on any wild animal. And so their approach to hunting is they follow the prey. They follow the prey, they follow the prey. Prey knows they're there. They can't get away. The length of the legs on these dogs allows them to have the stamina to follow the prey until the prey runs out of energy. And they took down a young impala in our presence, and this is as National Geographic as I get with this wild African dog covered in blood. And this was my welcome back to Africa. On to brighter things, there are these tiny antelope called klipspringers. These are cliff dwellers. They're tiny. Again, you know, they're less than 2 feet tall at the shoulder, and those horns are about 3 inches long. You notice that it's standing on its tiptoes. That's just the way they roll. They use the cliffs to get away from predators. They can put themselves in the middle of a cliff so a predator can't get to them from the top, can't get them to them from the bottom. Giraffe, he's got a scar about halfway up his neck towards the back, and he's got a red-billed oxpecker on his neck. The scarring is from fighting over females. Giraffes fight. They use those big horns on top of their head. They wrap their necks around each other and they try to rear back and jab their fellow combatant in the neck. And so this guy has seen some battles. Those horns are hard. They're made of bone. They're part of their skull. This you may have seen in the promotional materials. This is a little ninja lion on the left. They are constantly playing / fighting. This is how they learn how to fight in real life. Cape buffalo, one of the males in this herd did a charge on the safari vehicle in front of us, stopped, broke off its charge about 6 feet away from the vehicle. They are incredibly territorial, and as you guys might have seen in the news, they're deadly. One killed a hunter about 1 week, 2 weeks ago. Guy was out hunting with his rifle on a paid hunt and did not make it back. Greater kudu male. These guys are very large antelopes. We were told that they generate a new spiral in their horns every 18 months. So this guy's about 3 to 4 years old. And the cleaning crew, the white-backed vultures, when there is carrion on the ground, they take care of it. And this is a bit of an impala. You can see its horn in the lower left-hand corner. We don't know how the impala died, anyway, but the vultures don't care. They're there doing their job. Once the vultures are done, the hyenas come in and their teeth are so strong that they can crush all of the bones except for the skull. So the hyenas get down to the bone marrow and they leave everything very clean. Otherwise, Africa would just be no fun. We got to see a pride of 18 lions. These guys were hanging out in the road. And usually our safari vehicle drivers arrange themselves so that you don't see them in the background of the shots. But I thought this was interesting to see part of my crew in the open Jeeps in this sea of lions. And once they were done napping, they all got up and walked past our safari vehicle. So I was watching them out of the corner of my eye. I didn't want to turn my camera to face them, lest they think that this might be an edible something. But everyone that went past us looked up to check us out. We followed the instructions. One of the rules is thou shalt not stand up in the safari vehicle because it changes the profile. It makes the lions think, hey, that's interesting. Don't want that. But again, the endearing quality of the relationships between these creatures was something that just absolutely floored me. And so after they got up from their nap, they went to their local favorite watering hole, and there are 13 or 14 lions in this shot. Some of the cleanest water around. They are water connoisseurs. All of the predators need water to survive. Actually, all of the creatures in Africa in general need water to survive. You won't find any other critters around these guys when they're at the watering hole. They have dibs. Saw an incredibly beautiful leopard mom. She had 3 of her cubs with her, but I just did isolated shots of her. Something had caught her attention, and she's trying to locate with her ears and her eyes what that sound was. We keep returning to this little lion, this lion pride that's in the river bottom. And these guys are very well fed. They're very happy. They're incredibly playful. And this young male decides that he wants to play with his father. And the father is like, no. And he looks the cub off, and the cub goes and behaves. It lays down for maybe 5 seconds. And then it got up, went after Dad's tail, and Dad was like, wow, nope. The birds are absolutely incredible. Not as many birds in South Africa, only about 900 different species of bird in South Africa. But this little bee-eater pair was just so beautiful, so colorful. A very clean Burchell's starling. It has just come out of the river after having a bath. The starlings in Africa are just gorgeous. Our European starlings are, yeah, they're okay. So on to Botswana and Mashatu camp. I mentioned that it was hot. We're in a hide near this pond, and I'm probably, I don't know, I'd say 5 or 6 yards away from these elephants that are drinking out of the pond. But we started with sunset. We're always traveling in the middle of the day when the photography is not great. So we get up in the morning, we do our game drive with the dawn, we travel, we arrive, we do a game drive at night and into the sunset. So this is how the camp got named. This is a Mashatu tree behind me. They are absolutely enormous. This is one of the 2 times that we got out of the safari vehicles ever. And the guides drove around this Mashatu tree, checking very carefully for leopards, because the leopards love Mashatu trees. And again, we're back to water. This is in a river bottom where the water is drying up because it's pretty much the height of their summer in eastern Botswana. But this beautiful elephant herd was getting a drink. They were not the only people. They were not the only creatures at the watering hole. There was a mother and young male leopard. And you can hear a vocalization. That's the female. You'll also be able to hear the young male answering off camera. And I love the way that they pet each other with their tails. They track where the other one is. It's definitely a fifth limb for them. The male had just attempted a hunt that was unsuccessful. And I think the mom was saying, okay, better luck next time. He's marking her rock. But again, this affection between the two. I think those are helmeted guinea fowl that are stalking in the background. Back at the hide, there are baby warthogs. This is part of a family. For giraffes. And these guys are so skittish. There was one gentleman on our safari who had a Canon DSLR, still has the flapping mirror. And every time he would fire up that, the giraffes would startle. I'm shooting mirrorless, my camera makes mirrorless and shutterless, my cameras make no noise. So it's an advantage. And the creatures are starting to, where they had gotten inured to the sound of the mirror, they're starting to react again in the absence as more people adopt mirrorless technology. So a gray go-away bird. And perfectly named. White-fronted bee eater doing what bee eaters do. Some Burchell zebras, some colts on the right-hand side, an adult on the left. With their complement of red-billed oxpeckers. Great symbiotic relationship. This is an adult wildebeest with its oxpeckers. Never go anywhere without an oxpecker. Common elands, these are the second largest antelopes in the world. They max out at about 2,000 pounds. I've seen a lioness single-handedly take down an eland. She weighs about a quarter of what the eland weighs. Banded mongoose mob. Yes, that is a technical term. Pair of impalas, young impalas sparring. Little flying impala. The real challenge for me photographing impalas is that they leap so high that it's almost impossible to keep them in the frame. a woodland kingfisher. And everything that you're seeing here is presented as I saw it. These colors are not popped out. This is just the way they are. It is mind-blowing how colorful, in particular, the bird life is. So I caught him doing some fishing in the pond. And this is another little endearing moment where the father warthog is teaching his young son the art of pushing, of resistance. And they were playing at this, and then suddenly all their tails go up. Mom, dad, 4 warthog babies bolt off of the scene, doing that quintessential, thing where the warthogs run and their tails are straight up. And then this guy shows up. He is the biggest warthog bull that I have ever seen. And I think he owns the place. Going back to camp, there's a southern red-billed hornbill hanging out. I can't resist anything about photographing birds. And a herd of giraffes at a small watering hole. And I literally shot this off of the deck of the Mashatu Lodge, all open to the surroundings, no fences, no nothing. We had warthogs coming into camp, and I always gave them a wide berth because even the young ones, it's their space, it's not mine. Little baby elephant, probably about 5 weeks old. It's so young, it doesn't know how to work its trunk. Close up of an elephant's eye, an adult, these amazing eyelashes. This is a Mashatu tree in a river bottom, and the yellow dots are weaver's nests. There are over 100 weaver's nests in this tree alone. Weavers are birds that literally, they'll go out and pick grasses and literally weave these nests and attaching them to the trees. They have a fake entrance to throw snakes off, and then a real but hidden entrance. It's wild. Little flock of ostriches. There are 4 males, 2 females in this shot. The males are black and white. The females are more brown colored. Blackback jackal, part of the cleanup crew. And cheetahs. There are 3 yearling cheetahs that were hanging out. The one on the left is yawning. I learned that you count the number of yawns. After 3 yawns, something is going to happen. Cheetah's going to get up. There is going to be action. So if you're out there, count the yawns and be ready. And again, the whole affection thing between these siblings. We did some nighttime shooting in Botswana. I photographed this pearl-spotted owl in the bush. There was also a full-grown male lion wandering around with us, and like dummies, we were chasing after it. In any case, we let him go. This is a newborn Burchell zebra. He is still coated in amniotic fluid. We got to watch him stand up for the first time and try to figure out what's gravity? What are these wobbly legs underneath me? How do I stay erect? And this is probably my favorite shot of the whole safari. It's a leopard in a Mashatu tree. He didn't bring this impala skull up with him. It has apparently been up there from previous leopards, but it struck me as very Shakespearean. And alas, poor Yorick. So on our way to Chitabi Camp in the Okavango Delta, these are the single engineer planes. These were probably the bigger single engine airplanes that we were flying. But we flew over parts of the Kalahari Desert. We didn't see any of the Bushmen on this trip. But evaporated lake beds that just to me looked like alien art. On to Chitabe Camp and more leopards. This is a satellite view. You can see Angola in the upper left-hand corner, followed by a very thin strip of Namibia as the Okavango River is flowing from the northwest down into the plains of Botswana. And you can see the two lodges where we stayed are highlighted in red. We get out, and in the afternoon light, I saw this brown snake eagle, and so I'm shooting at either 800 millimeters or 1120 millimeters. A Bataleur, another raptor, lilac-breasted roller. And again, these are the colors. It is just incredible. A pair of double-banded sand grouse. The male is on the right. Female is more easily camouflaged. Varro's eagle owl. These are the biggest owls in Africa. And yes, they have pink eyelids. They're called eagle owls because they have the ear feathers. There are also regular owls that are just called owls in Africa. They even have barn owls. So those are just called barn owls. They're regular owls. A slender mongoose. This is a first for me. Six-spotted hyena pups coming out of their den. And again, the affection. These guys are, there's something about life on this planet that this is something that makes us survive. Another baby elephant. This one's a little bit older than the previous one. It's starting to be able to operate its trunk. And elephant herd at a watering hole with a hippopotamus in the lower left. Some cheetah subadults. Close up. The ruff on its neck is something that identifies them as subadults. After they get to be about 3 or 4 years old, that ruff starts lying down. So you may wonder what a cheetah sounds like. I would have easily mistaken that for a bird call. Gorgeous fish eagle. Hippopotamus herd. This is the second time we got out of the safari vehicles. The guide said it was okay. Follow the advice of your guides and you'll be fine. But I kept a very sharp eye on the guide. And if he went back towards the safari vehicle, I was there. But the hippos are very territorial. They're the most dangerous animals in all of Africa. More people are killed by hippopotamus than any other creature in Africa. And the flared nostrils, that's a sign that they're getting annoyed. They're very definitely interested in these two-legged interlopers that are on the banks of their river. And you might think that, oh, it's okay, he's yawning. This is a sign of aggression. So when you see a big hippo yawning, you want to be thinking about heading back towards the safari vehicle. And this is one of our guides, Bibi, who is demonstrating the size of how big these hippopotamus skulls are. So, basically, if his jaws were fully open, it would be way up past Bibi's waist. And they move so fast, the hippopotamus do. It is impressive. Another elephant mom and baby. And we got to watch this leopard hunting in the early morning light. There's a big rainstorm coming in from the west. And so we got this really cool looking light in background. It's a gorgeous creature. There's a chance that she was pregnant. She looked a little bit beyond just full from food. But here she is up in a dead Mashatu tree. There's a rainbow in the background from the rainstorm that's coming. And she went and picked up a little bird that she had stuffed in the crotch of the tree between the big, the main trunk and this gigantic branch. And so this is her morning snack. And again, a rainbow in the background. Bat-eared fox. These guys are very skittish. You can see that he's had his ear nibbled on by a predator. So I had about half a second to shoot this before it ghosted. So we're flying into Jagera Camp in the rain over the Okavango Delta. And this is a lion emerging from the grass, looking straight at us, coming our direction. So in landing, we landed over a herd of elephants. The pilot did his usual thing. They do one pass to clear the runway of animals, and then they come in for a landing. Fortunately, these guys did not find their way onto the runway. We got to watch them do their dust bath, where they're using the dust to protect themselves from the sun, to keep them cooler, protect them from insects. Saw some young elephant males sparring. This is one of the most bizarre creatures I think I've ever seen. This is the southern ground hornbill. Looks so prehistoric to me. He's got a scarab beetle in its mouth. And the males have this big red pouch that in mating season they use. It blows up and they use for calling for a mate. And there goes the scarab beetle. Saw a gray heron with minnow. These struck me as being very similar to our great blue herons. An African open-bill stork, and the iridescence is just stunning. Some sunset thunderclouds, some rain at sunset, and then just an ocean of clouds. Next morning, we get up and there's this gigantic termite mound. They're probably 12 feet tall or so, with the moon rising, setting, the moon is setting. And this is a composite image. I do two shots. One I focused on the moon, one I focused on the termite mound. Some red lechwe. These are, again, kind of antelopes, ruminants. A red lechwe herd. A lion yearling with a cub playing. This is one of the most gentle yearling play experiences that I've ever seen, where there was no dominance going on. It was just, everybody was having fun. And the lion cub had a secret it wanted to tell the yearling. And everybody got into the act. On the far right is the mom, in the middle is the yearling, and coming out of the bushes is the cub. And the mom is loving every minute of this. She is doing the rough and tumble with both the yearling and the cub. Here's a photographer's smorgasbord for the lioness. These are some folks in the safari, and they're shooting at her pride off to the left. And this lioness, I'm not sure she's just trying to figure out which one of us would be the tastiest. I also got to do a Mokoro ride in a dugout canoe on the Okavango River, and the guy who's pulling the boat his name is Limit. OG was the other boat driver, and Genius is in the lead Mokoro spotting hippos. The rule was, if he sees a hippo, we're going back. I can get behind that. See Genius in the front with nobody in the boat with him. Two of my compatriots in his newsroom. And so I'm shooting at 800 millimeters from this little tippy canoe, this little egret flying overhead. An Egyptian goose leaving a little commentary for us. Water hyacinth. And a malachite kingfisher on a papyrus plant. The malachite kingfishers are about 5 or 6 inches tall from the top of the head to its tail. They're tiny, skittish little birds, but I was hoping I'd get a chance to see one. This was the only malachite kingfisher that I saw on this trip, and I got to photograph. Some African spoonbills. Spoonbill eating a minnow. Blue-cheeked bee eater, and a helicopter ride. So I've gotten to the point where if an opportunity presents itself for a different perspective, sign me up. Sure, I'll ride over predators in Africa in a tiny helicopter. What could possibly go wrong? But what it gave us is this perspective of what the islands look like before the flood is going to hit. And the flood is coming. The rains have been happening in Angola, and the Okavango River is filling and it's flooding into the Delta region. In the meantime, in these shrinking pools, you have a higher and higher concentration of hippopotamus and Nile crocodiles and various bird life. But we got to see this herd of 28 elephants off in the distance and got to see the flood coming. As we went further upriver, we saw more and more flooded territory and this almost instantaneous change from more of a brownish background to this verdant greenish background. And it was just amazing. I got to photograph a flock of little egrets. Their reflections off the water with a red lechwe on the bank of the Okavango River. And that was about it for the helicopter ride, and we're back on land again. It's lion cub with its mother. Big, angry male lion on the hunt for some interlopers from a different pride, not of his pride. This is the first time I've ever seen a big male lion running, snarling. He was out literally for blood. So these are two of the yearlings that were watching the big lion hunting them, and its mom was with them off camera. their mom. And so he's literally frothing at the mouth. Just an amazing, gorgeous, gorgeous lion. Glad he wasn't hunting me. So happy World Lion Day. I was back on August 10th, and now it's time for the Lion's Roar. This is going back to the South Africa and the Kruger National Park. So we're down in the Sabi Sand River, and this lion had climbed up onto these rocks, and he's giving us a big yawn ahead of his domain declaring performance. There are rocks all around, forming kind of an amphitheater for us. And he's had a rough time. He's been fighting, and we don't know if that was a warthog or a fellow male lion that he was fighting, but he's got about a 3 or 4 inch long scar under his left eye. Holy mackerel. I was like 20, from here to the back wall away from that line. Not, like I said, I'm not a videographer, but real happy with that. So on to a few undisclosed locations. We were asked not to say where we saw these creatures because they are so highly sought after by poachers. And the poachers have gotten really sophisticated about finding out where were these photographs taken, so they know where to look. But got to see my first pangolin, reminiscent of an armadillo, but instead of bands, they have individual scales. And when they're threatened, they wrap themselves up into a ball, and the only thing that the predators can get at are these sharp scales. And just, wow, wild, wild creatures. And a white rhinoceros. So other people in our group got to see 10 white rhinos. I only got to see 1. It's still likely not enough to preserve the species. There are just so few of them that the genetic diversity is not, unfortunately, not there anymore. I don't know, something may change. Got my fingers crossed. But kudos to the safari leader in South Africa and Botswana, Sebastian Kinnerneck. He's a local photographer out of, he lives on the peninsula. He's a cat expert. So great guy. He stepped in for Susie when she was being treated for cancer. And much gratitude to Susie Esterhaas, who planned these safaris and was safari leader for us in Tanzania and Kenya. She's a professional wildlife photographer and advocate for wild creatures around the globe. And this is her with a baby elephant at the Sheldrick Elephant Orphanage. And we all had to wear masks because it was COVID time. In any case, she is amazing. She's the only professional photographer that I know of who's, other than probably Sebastian, who's actually making a living doing this. So she's been on the cover of Time magazine. She's published numerous times in National Geographic. And I met her like 15 years ago and did a 1-day safari on Elkhorn Slough, photographing otters. and never dreamt that I would go to Africa. Things change. Thank you guys so much for watching. I want to say thank you so much to ESCOM for having me. This has been a real pleasure, and just want to say thank you guys so much. Okay, so my next trip is I'm going back to Kenya and Tanzania in March, February, March, and then I'm going to Madagascar in October. And so this guy can't get enough of Africa. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I live up in the Marin Valley Mobile Country Club up in Novato, and yes, that's home. Thanks to Judy for this introduction. And basically, periodically I'll put on slideshows. I've got an Italy and Greece slideshow, which is not, okay. I say this when I'm traveling in Europe. I'd rather be on safari, but Europe's pretty cool. There's a great eland that is even bigger. And I think that's in Russia from my very limited research. Yes. It does. It is the largest inland delta in the world. Yes. 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 Okay. Poachers are very widely spread. They're highly organized. They're very technical. They use airplanes to find elephant herds. And the elephants have gotten to the point where if they hear an airplane, they will find a copse of trees and will put their heads in so the poachers can't see if they've got tusks. The elephants are just incredibly intelligent creatures. So what humans are doing, we're relying on the owners of the private concessions to keep their eyes open, because tourism is their bread and butter. This is how they make their money and how they are able to preserve these vast swaths of land. And there are rangers who are armed, who patrol the national parks, like the Ngorongoro Crater, like the Kruger, but they're undermanned. And it's a very demanding job and very dangerous. Did I answer? And that is how, yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. The previous question was, what is being done about poachers? And sorry, I will try to repeat the questions. Yes. So it's a great question. How do I identify these animals that I've never seen before? The guides have encyclopedic memory. In the case of Hassan Swalehe, he could identify every bird that we saw on site I was taking copious field notes in my iPhone as we're bouncing across to the next sighting. And so I did 90% of the identification that way. Some of them I recognized because I did research in advance. So a serval, I don't see those every day, but I'd read about servals. So I'm just trying to feed my brain as much as possible so that I'm not having to rely on the guides. And for that last 10%, Google Images. Take a photograph. It's like, I'm not sure what this is. Drop it into Google Images. And I'd say about 80, 90% of the time, Google Images will come up with an accurate answer. Yes. And to Judith's point, basically these guys live with the animals. They know the names of the prides. They know the individuals in the prides. They know who's pregnant, who's injured, and they are highly educated. They study all the time. They are just voracious consumers of books about plants, animals, whatever. I mean, Hassan asked me if I could find a book for him here in the States that he couldn't get access to. I did, and I sent it to him. He was, it was on African wildflowers because I had asked him a question that he didn't know the answer to, and he was not gonna stay in that state. So, yes. So to paraphrase the question, it has to do with changes in the way that tourists are allowed to interact with wildlife. And the government of Tanzania in particular has been really good about increasing the protections for wildlife. They still have a ways to go. They are limiting the number of safari vehicles that are allowed to be around animals, but there's not enough policing of that. For instance, we came upon the leopard outside Ndutu camp the previous day from the day that I got the photograph. And there are like 18 safari vehicles around the tree. And we just said to our driver, Hassan, let's just go somewhere else because there is no point in harassing, the wildlife. So part of it is, having conscious people who don't want to harass the wildlife. We're just as content to stay back and use long lenses. In any case, hope that helps answer your question. I love Elkhorn Slough. There are some ecotourism boats that go out that are fully electric powered, so they're silent. You can You know, depending on your level of interest, you can charter boats pontoon boats that will take you out. And there's some good pilots who understand about how to approach otters. And that's one of my favorite places. I love Point Reyes. I mean, Point Reyes is just over the hill here, arguably. And I love photographing there. And I'll go there if I'm looking for osprey or elk or bobcats on occasion. But Sebastian Hennerneck runs a trip up to Point Reyes that covers bobcats. I'm hoping to get on one of his tours, but so far I've been a little busy. Did that answer your question? Okay. Yes. Thank you. Shoot. Most days, so the question was, you're out on a safari vehicle all day long. Where do you seek relief? Most days we're not out all day long. We come back to camp when the sun is from about 11 o'clock to about 3 o'clock, when the light is just really harsh. And so that's answer A. And answer B is there are actually facilities in, say, the Ngoro crater. The challenge is that your guides have to go into the building first to make sure that there are no lions in it. And, but yeah. Thank you, Harvey.
David, enjoy. Thank you for being so patient here. I hope it was worth it. It was for me. Where else can you see this and hear some of the sounds? I never thought a lion would sound like that. Okay, as a reminder, we do this on a monthly basis. Our next presenter will be here again on the 19th of September. And his name is Fred Hardwick. He's doing a program on estate planning. I mean, from Africa to the wilds of Africa, to the wilds of estate planning. Think of it that way. He will go through a quick review as much as he can, because he has taught in campuses, on colleges for many, many years. He knows his stuff, and he tries to make it as simple as possible so we can understand it. So I'll send out information on that. Fred Hardwick, September the 19th, and it will be earlier. It won't be 10 o'clock. It'll be probably